2025 Sustainability Week in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, UAE, is ending on the 18th of January 2025. In his address during the session, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu advocated for a more purposeful global commitment and partnership towards addressing climate change challenges and build a sustainable future for generations to come. The Nigerian leader and his counterpart of United Arab Emirates explored attracting investment into Nigeria, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said his government's economic reforms are yielding fruit and called on the United Arab Emirates to partner with Nigeria to develop the economy. What does the summit mean to Nigeria in terms of climate change and Nigeria's efforts to combat climate change? The theme of the Sustainability Week is the nexus of next supercharging sustainable progress. This and more will form our discussion on Nigeria Today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ikaria Clinton. With me in the studio for today's conversation is Dr. Chimere May Ohajinwa. She's a principal consultant, Sea Circle Research, and she's also an environmentalist. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you.
So, Chimere, let's go back to the summit that by hopefully will be ending on the 18th of January. Mm-hmm. So, what does this summit mean to Nigeria?
Okay, so listening to what the president talked about, so this is an opportunity for us to expand whatever we are doing in Nigeria. So when it comes to environmental sustainability, we are not talking about only climate change now. We are looking at all the other things that are involved in environmental issues. Those are not just climate change, like last time we were talking about our climate change meeting, this one, no. This one is like more encompassing. You're looking at energy, you're looking at the future for Africa, you're looking at bigger investment for Nigeria. And so this is what President Tinubu was talking about, that no one country can achieve this if you don't collaborate with others. So it gives an opportunity for this meeting called for leaders to come around, policymakers, leaders of countries to come around and they discuss these issues and how it benefits Nigeria and how Nigeria is very ripe for all the investment they want to do. So they can come to Nigeria and do that. So this is one of the things President Tinubu was talking about at the meeting. And so that's one of the outcomes. And it's not just for Nigeria, for every other country as well.
Okay, and of course, like you said, they had they had about 34 sessions so far, featuring about 70 speakers, and of course, leaders from a lot of countries. There are even ministers. Mm-hmm. Now, in what areas, like you rightly said, the president talked about collaboration, talked about partnership. In your own opinion, what areas do you think Nigeria really needs collaboration and partnership?
Okay, so President was talking about energy transition, climate action that Nigeria is into, the agriculture Nigeria is making a lot of investment in that, the technology innovation, that was one of the things that President talked about, the networking, the investment. So when President was talking about, in all of these sessions, these are the key areas Nigeria is looking into, and that's the point that President Tinubu focused on and talked about those things, what Nigeria is doing in terms of energy transition, how we think about what the investments we are making in energy transition and for the future, the technology, the innovations, the climate actions that we are taking in terms of climate resilience. You know that a few months ago we had flooding, and that affected food security, biodiversity. People lost businesses, income. So all of this. So if we are investing a lot of money in climate resilience, what does it mean for us? So how are we going to, move on? How are we going to make sure that we don't end up having all the consequences of climate change if we are prepared for it? And so that's what President Tinubu was selling to the other countries to see that, Nigeria has done this, and we are ready for investors.
Well, now, from what you just said, how does this sustainability intersect with Nigeria's, economic growth and poverty alleviation goals?
Okay, so when they talk about environmental sustainability, like I said, is beyond climate change. You are looking at all encompassing. You are looking at today and tomorrow. What we are able to survive today, but also will not deny the future generation. And so that you're looking at biodiversity, how you can make us in lion in real life. But Nigeria used to have lions, but we don't have any more. So in what way are we preserving all of those things? Although in this meeting there were a lot of emphasis on technology, AI, intelligence, energy transition, knowledge transfer. So if you are relating with them and they bring their knowledge, you can transfer. Then you create jobs. The investors are coming here. So you find out that if you're having all of those investments here, you're pulling people out of poverty. So that also leads to, you're having policy development that are going to that is favorable to all those investments. So it doesn't like you just come and invest your money and then it's gone. These are some of the discussions that are going on in all of those sessions.
Now, how can we leverage? You talked about, good enough, you mentioned technology.
Yes.
AI, of course, there's a trend where you hear the artificial intelligence and all of that. How can Nigeria leverage this, technology to improve a lot? Talking about, we are always talking about climate change. We're also talking about renewable energy. So how can we leverage technology to, improve our own end?
I think there's a lot we can leverage on. Okay, so if you look at energy transition now, how does it work? You can see that a lot of people are moving into solar panels. We are having wind energy. We are having hydro. Different other sources of energy that we are having. So now, if you are investing a lot of money, there's put a lot of investment in technology or innovations. That also means that it will help us to even grow more. The prices will come down. Everybody will have access to it. So it's not as if to put solar energy now, you go and price one battery. The battery that you bought maybe 100,000 or 120,000 2, 3, 4 years ago is now like maybe 500,000, 400,000. So expensive. But with technology or with innovation, there's a lot more coming up, and then you are able to bring down the price and making it accessible to everybody. I was reading something online today, and so you find out that they're even making solar panels not as big as we're having it now. It's not like looking like strips. You can even put it on your windows. So each room, if you're not investing in it, you will not have those. And so it's important that we invest in it, because you have to have solution that is okay for our environment, so that it doesn't look like copy and paste. You bring it and it's not going to work. But if it comes from us, we generated it, it works more for us, because even all those things they bring for us or they do for us, sometimes it doesn't work. And remember, they think about themselves first before they think about you. So it's important that we talk about it and talk about the collaboration, the networking, the partnership between countries, and knowledge transfer, and what it means to us, how it's going to help us in economic diversification, how it's going to help us in mitigating climate change, in what way are we building resilience in every sector. So we had flooding. If our health sector is not resilient, we won't be able to take care of those people that were sick. We had flooding, then suddenly we start having cholera outbreak, then from cholera outbreak and have other things. You don't even know what is coming next. But so if you are building resilience across, not just across every sector in the health, there's resilience. They can handle whatever problem that comes. In agri, they can handle it. In food, things like that. So you build this resilience, and these are things they're talking about in environmental sustainability. In what way are we able to withstand these issues when they come?
Okay, now, you also mentioned, of course, earlier on, you mentioned flood and the rest of them, talking about sustainability and, of course, resilience. But now, Chimere, you also agree with me that we've had quite a lot of, a summit in the past, and, of course, our leaders have attended this and coming back. So how do we maintain, or will I say sustain the tempo? Because after going for such a summit, the spirit is high. We've had quite a lot of information. How do we sustain the tempo in trying to implement some of the innovations, some of the things we've gathered from these other countries, and some of course the ideas that were shared from other countries? How do we sustain the tempo and implement it in our own country?
Okay, so one way that Nigeria has invested is we have, so it's not just like say meetings on climate change and all of these. There are agencies that are coming up, they're having policies, they're collaborating with people, like President going for these meetings. We're able to come up with direction for the next 4 years or the direction for the next 10 years. And that means every other thing we prioritize what we want to do, the next step. And I think they are sustaining because now we are having policies, we are having agencies that are having, we are crystallizing things, because when you go for these meetings, you exchange ideas with other countries, you understand what they are doing, you look at it and see how you can apply it in your own context. So yeah, sometimes it may look like, oh, the meetings are too much, but also it's also important because if you don't go, you don't know where the world is going. You know, so like the president had meetings with the president of Abu Dhabi, and he's inviting him to come over. Had meeting with Rwanda president. He had meeting with all these people. So you know what they are doing. See, you're striking deals and see how does it favor us in what way. So yes, the meeting might appear too much, but they're also important because if you don't go, you don't even know what's going on. So it's also important that we go
so
for those meetings.
What actionable step would you say that we take?
That
to sustain the progress, yes.
To sustain the progress. Yeah. Like I said, they have a lot of agencies. Agencies are beginning to have the clarity on what to focus on. So now, if you are creating and say, okay, so this year we have our NDCs, and we have Nigeria has 7 NDCs they are focusing on. Health is part of it. They have the waste, they have the water. We're focusing on transportation. We're focusing on renewable energy. So if you have this, so you now, when you go for those meetings and come back, you probably signatory to some of the policies. You are trying to get the policy and trying to domesticate it and how it fits us, and then you start working on it. So you know, sometimes it looks as if it's not there, but it's actually there. You know, they're developing these policies, trying to create an environment that will work for the investors you are bringing in. So it's not just talk, but when you now listen to these people, you come back and say, okay, these are the issues, this is how we are going to work on it. And then you start developing policies, creating an environment that helps them, so that when they come in and invest, they don't run away, they stay back, and they are able to implement those things. And then so it takes a while for you to start seeing the impact of those activities. So we are talking about environmental sustainability. These things are not something that just happens like this. It's not like you're buying A and selling B. These are more of services. And then sometimes they are not that tangible. It takes a while for you to see the impact. So if you're telling somebody, oh no, you cannot just mine like this, you cannot degrade the environment like this, sometimes it doesn't make sense. It makes sense like 20, 30 years later. But you have to build it now for it to make sense for the next generation. So it's not like I'm buying A and I'm selling to B that you can feel it. No. So all of these things, they actually put in the work. That's why they're able to go for those meetings to see where is the world going, what's the direction, how are we going to tap into the money that has been. They have put some money. How do we get into it and get this investment into Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Dr. Chimere. We'll take a short break now. The conversation will continue after the break. Don't go away.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we are looking at the sustainability, summit that was held in Abu Dhabi, and of course some developments from that summit. And of course, I have here with me Dr. Chimere, an environmentalist. Now, back to you, Dr. Chimere. You've talked so much about what the government is doing, the actionable steps they are taking, and of course, I also want you to open our eyes to how the summit can assist us as a country, talking about Nigeria, to actualize its zeal of mitigating adverse consequences of the country's environmental challenges, for instance, deforestation.
Okay, so again, when it comes to environmental sustainability, it's broader. We are going beyond climate change, biodiversity, afforestation, renewable energy. So when you go for this kind of meetings, like the president has gone, he presented Nigerian position, he presented the focus. And one of the focus was renewable energy transition. How are you going to do that? Climate resilience, agriculture, that we are going to tackle the food security, so all the innovations around that area. And also there was some money that was pledged. We are going to get it. So when you go for those kind of meetings, we are developing our renewable energy sector. We are looking at how can we be climate resilient. We are having energy knowledge transfer. We are having that we are bringing the investment. We are developing partnership and collaborations, because you see that the president is inviting the Abu Dhabi president, had a meeting with the Rwanda president. So those kind of relationships are important. Now we are also learning from other countries the perspective on how best we can develop our own system. We are learning from the best, because most of the time the people are going to be presenting their perspectives. So you take the perspective and see how it works in your own environment. So like you asked about deforestation, and I said it's not only deforestation, we're talking about biodiversity now. So biodiversity in terms of plants, biodiversity in terms of animals. So the things you call weed may not be weed in 20 years' time. There may be gold in 20 years' time. So how do we preserve those plants so that we don't lose them? How do we preserve our animals so that we don't lose them? That our children come in 100 years' time and they can see lion, they can see hippopotamus, they can see all these other ones. There are countries that make a lot of money just on tourism, just people coming to see animals. Good number is Kenya. Just people travel all over the world just to come and see these animals because they have them and they have them. So if they had killed it, they won't make money from it. So the same thing with the plants. We never know where we're going to in the next 100 years. Which plants that we have now that will be what the whole world is coming to come and see. So it's not just the deforestation and the impact of deforestation, which goes beyond the climate change and food security, but also look at this other side where we are talking about ecotourism, and yes, we can develop and still have these other ones.
Now, earlier you mentioned, yes, the pledge of funds, of course, which is one of the takeaways also from this summit. Now, the funds that were, pledged to, no, definitely with time, some other countries will be able to access them. Like, should we access these funds, Dr. Chimere? What are the areas you think that these funds should be, or will I say can be, the way you're looking at me now, as if the funds are already here now. So what are the areas you think that, these funds should be deployed if we are to actualize these sustainable goals? Okay, so fine. At the meeting, President Tinubu mentioned our areas, about 4 areas of focus for Nigeria. So meaning that if you're able to access those funds, these are the 4 areas. Climate resilience, energy transition, agriculture, food security, one other one that he mentioned. These are the areas he's focused on this period. So meaning that any money that we are getting, because he has charted the direction, so meaning that whatever it is we are getting is in this direction, we are looking at how can we be climate resilient. If there's another problem tomorrow, how can we survive without losing everything that we have? How can we provide food without having so much inflation? How can we make sure that everybody has access to energy, because that will help us to grow our economy, right? So if energy is so expensive, not everybody can afford it. So investing in innovation, technology, research in that area, in these areas of focus that he has mentioned, means that this is the direction both the researchers, the university, the NGOs, these are areas they should be focusing on, because this is the area, the direction that President has, told us that's where he wants to go into during sustainability, environmental sustainability, in the area of environmental sustainability. This is what I want to do. So we just have that direction and we focus on that. Another issue was the inclusivity. Okay. The issue of inclusivity, the youth, of course, but let me quickly find out from you, Dr. Chimere. The summit. How can the summit of this nature, assist us in integrating inclusive green growth and sustainable economic development? Okay.
Like I said environmental sustainability is broad. And so when you're talking about that inclusivity, it helps you to consider everything from climate to biodiversity to food, energy to agriculture, even to the community that are participating in that. So, for example, you are doing mining. How do we make the community to participate? How do you get the companies to know that, see, you can also mine in an environmentally friendly manner and make your profits. You don't have to degrade the environment. Then the community is also participating in those decisions that involve them. So if you're talking about inclusivity in terms of, if it's in this area you're talking about now, yes. So all around. You know, at first it may look like it's expensive to do environmentally friendly activities, but if you find that cumulatively it's cheaper because you're not destroying, you're still living for tomorrow. So if they start seeing businesses in doing it the right way, then that's the money that comes from it. So it's beyond the cash. It's also like the environmental benefit from it, not just money. I may not make money, but the sustainability part of it, you're making money. The environment part of it, the community, the children, the women, they're all benefiting. So you know that you go to do a business in a particular place doing energy, but by the time you finish, all the pregnant women are having children that are deformed. So you don't have people to employ the next day. So when it comes to sustainability, you're looking at all around. What are the impacts, the things that we are not even thinking about, the contamination of food. If it's contaminating our food with chemicals, are we going to having children that are deformed? Are we going to start having cancer tomorrow? What can we do so that we don't, in the process of making money, then destroy the environment, destroy our health, destroy the children? The children are beginning to have these they're not supposed to have 20 years down the line just because they work in a particular place or just because they live in a particular place, because you did not do it the right way. So when it comes to environmental sustainability, it's not just the cash, it's also the benefits that are beyond cash. You get what I'm saying? So if pregnant women are not supposed to work, they don't employ pregnant women. But also that doesn't mean that their water is contaminated because they're working there, their food is contaminated because they're working there. No, at the end of the day, the future generation still has something to benefit from, and they're okay. They come out healthy and they still have something to benefit from.
Okay, now Chimbere, with having said all of this, now the summit is about to end, say by on the 18th of January. Now,
tomorrow, yeah.
Okay, what do you expect to see at the end of this summit?
Okay, like I said, what I expect is that the president has given us the direction, and I expect that everybody aligns, whether it's the government, the NGOs, the research institutes, the academy, everybody, universities, everybody's aligned and saying, this is what we are going to do. So if there are funds for this, I expect a lot to go into research, innovations, put money for that so that people can tap into that and start exploring ideas that fits in our own environment. So it doesn't look like talk shop. Like you said, you're asking me, we're having all this meeting, what does it mean? But if there is a lot of money, I also believe that they're putting in a lot of money. Like today, I listened to the news today and I was hearing that they're putting so much money in agriculture. But at the end of the day, some people that are supposed to access it don't access it because they don't even know something like this is existing. That also means that a lot should go into communication of whatever benefit government has put out, that people know about it so that the right people can access it. So it doesn't end up becoming people that are just portfolio farmers accessing whatever they have put in place. So that's what I expect. I expect that direction has been put for us, and whatever investment government is putting should be communicated appropriately so that the right people can access those funds.
Okay, thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtain for today's episode of Nigeria Today. Very big thank you to Dr. Chimbere May Ohajinwa. She's a principal consultant, Seed Circle Research, and she's also an environmentalist. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
And also thank you for being part of the program. Remember, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Thank you for being there. I'm the carrier, Clinton.